Glen, and as the ice retreated around 8000 BC, it left behind a string of lochs. Ness and
The Great Glen dramatically dissects the Scottish Highlands, but quite why this massive division happened continues to puzzle geologists. The widely held view is that the Great Glen Fault is a long, strike-split fault that runs the entire length of the valley. The reason many geologists and scientists take this view is because of the straightness of the fault, the shattered rocks on both sides, and similarities between granite found at Foyers, just above Loch Ness, and Stronshan on the Fort William side. When the first fracture took place, Loch Ness was being filled with broken stones rather than water. It became a loch when the glaciers began to retreat, pushing the stones back towards Inverness and filling the huge chasm with water. Loch Ness is, in fact, a very large example of what's known as a glacier trough.
There's another strong theory that Loch Ness was at one time a saltwater loch, but the large deposits of sand and gravel, which the glaciers left in their wake, eventually blocked up the Inverness end of the loch, acting like a large plug, and Loch Ness became a freshwater lake.
If you have the eyes to see and ears to hear, there's a lot of wildlife to be discovered in and around Loch Ness. One of the most delightful creatures living in the area is the red squirrel. Rusty red in colour, they're an incredibly nimble creature, whose short front legs and long hind legs mean it's ideally built for leaping.
Another creature you might just catch a glimpse of is an elusive pine marten. This is about the size of a cat, easily identifiable by the general dark brown of its fur that contrasts with the creamy throat patch. Pine martens were once considered to be vermin and were persecuted to the extent that by the early 1900s they were extinct throughout much of Britain. The Highlands, however, is a stronghold for this creature, and here they continue to thrive. There are badgers too in this area, along with foxes, brown hares
Ness, you'll often see red deer who come down to feed on the lower slopes before returning to the higher ground up in the hills for the summer. It's not unknown for them to swim across Loch Ness. Then there is the sika deer, which are smaller and almost black in colour, and the much smaller roe deer, more grey-brown in colour, which are common along the banks of the canal and in the grounds around Dockfur House. We're now approaching Urquhart Castle, one of the most iconic sites of Loch Ness and one of the largest castles in the whole of Scotland. There is a belief that the castle stands on the site of an ancient Pictish fort that was visited by St. Columba in 565 AD. While that assumption has been hard to prove, there's no doubt the strategic importance of this site from which to control both the Great Glen and northern Scotland.
There's been a castle on this site since the 13th century, when there was a rebellion by the people of Moray against King Alexander II. The king quickly quashed the uprising, named his son-in-law, Alan Durward, the lordship of Urquhart, and soon established a stronghold in the area by building the castle. When Durward died in 1275, the castle passed into the hands of John Conan, Lord of Badenoch. This signalled the start of a turbulent time in the castle's history, with ownership frequently being passed back and forth between the English and Scottish crown.
The last battle to be fought at Urquhart Castle was in 1689, when a small garrison of men who supported the Protestant monarchy of William and Mary managed to see off a much larger Jacobite force. Later that same year, as the garrison left the castle, they set fire to it in a final act of desperation to prevent it falling into Jacobite hands. But even in its ruinous state, Urquhart Castle is still an impressive stronghold.
Freaking Steier. We're staying on the boat. Yeah. We're not in the Sensation tour, which is going to visit the actual castle. Although it would have been lovely, but
no, this is pretty.
wow. Post this on YouTube and then
Stop talking on it.
Where are you going? Right.